My dream house was finally mine. I invited my family to celebrate. Not a single soul appeared. Instead, they all prioritized seeing my sister's brand new vehicle. Then, as I switched on the lights, my phone rang violently with a call from Dad. We must speak. Right now. Can you imagine dedicating 10 years of your life, sacrificing everything to achieve your biggest dream, only for your own family to deliberately sabotage your moment of triumph? My housewarming party wasn't just ruined. It was a devastating betrayal that unraveled a lifetime of hidden resentments. What the hell happened next? My name is Shirley, and for as long as I can remember, I've felt the weight of expectation. As the oldest of three, growing up in a modest home in Minnesota with my parents, Thomas and Margaret, I was always told to set an example for my younger sister Ashley, now 28, and my brother Dylan, 24. Our home wasn't exactly a beacon of emotional warmth, especially when it came to me. Ashley, oh, she was the family princess. Blonde curls, bright blue eyes, she captivated everyone. My parents doted on her in a way they never did me. I got books. Ashley got beautiful dresses. I was told to be responsible. Ashley was allowed to be carefree. Shirley, why can't you be more like your sister? Ashley knows how to make people smile. You're always so serious. That refrain. It was a constant hum in my childhood, creating a rift that only deepened with age. I poured myself into academics, convinced that if I couldn't win their affection through personality, I could through achievement. Perfect grades, every club, countless volunteer hours, and eventually, a full scholarship to a prestigious university. But even then, my accomplishments were constantly eclipsed by Ashley's smallest triumphs. I still remember my college graduation, magna cum laude with 2 degrees, searching the crowd for my family, expecting some glimmer of pride. Instead, at dinner, the conversation turned to Ashley's new boyfriend and his wealthy family's lake house party. Can you believe Ashley got invited to the Andersons' party? My mother gushed. I sat there, my diploma folder on the seat beside me, feeling utterly invisible. Only Dylan, then 16, caught my eye and gave me a subtle thumbs up. He saw it. He always saw it. After graduation, I moved to Chicago, diving headfirst into a marketing career. 10 years. 10 years of late nights, sacrifice weekends, living frugally, saving every single penny. My singular focus, owning my own home. My family couldn't understand it. Why marketing? You could have gone to law school, my father would say. Meanwhile, Ashley, who dropped out of community college, somehow landed a boutique job through my mom's friend, and that was celebrated as smart networking. But in Chicago, I built a life that was truly mine. Friends who valued me, mentors who pushed me, and that dream of owning a home. It wasn't just bricks and mortar. It was a sanctuary, a place where I wouldn't have to compete for attention, a space entirely for me. When I finally hit my savings goal at 32, the pride was unlike anything I'd ever known. This was my achievement, born of my hard work. The hunt for my dream home began. 3 months later, I found it, a 1920s craftsman bungalow in a charming neighborhood. It needed work, but the bones were solid. High ceilings, original crown molding, built-in bookshelves. The moment I walked in, I knew. This was it. I could already picture the dinner parties, the quiet evenings on the front porch. The offer was accepted. The closing was a blur. When the agent handed me those keys, I clutched them so tightly they left imprints on my palm. Over the next 2 months, I poured my heart and soul into renovating that house. I painted every room myself, refloored the hardwoods, transformed the kitchen on a budget. Every decision, every brushstroke was an act of creation, building a space that reflected me. As September approached, my house was ready. And what better way to celebrate than a housewarming party? I wanted to share my joy, mark this new chapter with the people I cared about most. I meticulously created invitations, handwriting each one, including old photos for family, stressing how much their presence would mean. My mother called, gushing. Ashley texted, "Oh my God, sis. Can't wait to see your new place. By the way, I just bought a new car. Nothing fancy like your house, but I'm excited, LOL." Dylan called, genuinely interested. The night before, my mom confirmed they'd be there. I went to bed feeling a rare sense of completion, finally ready to be the center of attention for something positive, for something I had achieved. Little did I know, The next day would bring one of the most painful disappointments of my life. I woke up at 6 a.m., buzzing with excitement. Sunlight streamed through the windows. Today was the day. I spent hours perfecting appetizers, arranging flowers. By 2:45 p.m., my first guests arrived. Coworkers, friends, neighbors. My home began to fill with the vibrant energy I dreamed of. But my family? No sign. At 3:30, I checked my phone. Nothing. I texted my mom. Still nothing. By 4 p.m., the party was in full swing, but my family's absence was a gaping, throbbing hole. I called my mom, then my dad straight to voicemail. I texted Dylan. My smile felt frozen, but inside anxiety coiled. Had there been an accident? Was someone sick? Then, at 4:30 p.m., my phone buzzed. A text from my friend Kelly, who couldn't make it. Just saw your family at Hamilton Auto. Your sister was taking pictures next to a red convertible with a big bow on it. Thought they were coming to your party after. I stared at the message. My hands went cold. They hadn't forgotten. They had chosen not to come. They were celebrating Ashley's new car. The realization hit me like a physical blow. After all my hard work, all my planning, they had still chosen Ashley over me. Again. Is everything okay? Melissa asked, seeing my face. I forced a smile. Everything's fine. Just checking messages. But everything was not fine. As I moved through my own party, accepting compliments on my beautiful home, a hollow feeling grew inside me. The people who should have been the most proud weren't even here to see it. By 8:30 p.m., the last guest had left. I stood in my entryway, surrounded by the remnants of what should have been a perfect day. Untouched gift bags, special place settings still at the dining room table, the family photo album closed on the coffee table. I moved mechanically, cleaning, my mind replaying Kelly's text. The image of my entire family around Ashley's car, while my meticulously planned celebration went on without them, burned in my thoughts. By 9 p.m., the house was clean, but the joy had evaporated. I sank onto my sofa, finally letting the tears fall. This house, my achievement, suddenly felt empty in a way that had nothing to do with departed guests. Just as I reached for a tissue, my phone lit up. Dad calling. My heart jumped. An explanation? An apology? I answered, my voice carefully controlled. Hello. Shirley. My father's voice was ice cold, sharp with an accusation I rarely heard directed at me. We need to talk. Now. I sat up straighter, wiping away tears. Whatever I expected, it wasn't this. The accusation in his tone was unmistakable. Somehow, in their absence, I had become the villain. About what? I asked, heart lacing my voice. About what you did to your sister, he replied. My world tilted. What I did to Ashley. I repeated, disbelief washing over me. Dad, I didn't do anything to her. I haven't even seen her in weeks. Don't play innocent with me, Shirley, he snapped. You know exactly what you did. I stood up, pacing my beautiful living room, which now felt like a cage. Dad, I honestly have no idea what you're talking about. What I do know is that my entire family missed my housewarming party today without so much as a text message to explain why. A pause. Then his voice even colder. Your mother is very upset right now. Ashley told us you changed the date of your party deliberately to conflict with her car purchase appointment. She's been saving for that car for months, and you knew how important today was for her. The accusation was so absurd I couldn't speak. I'd sent invitations 2 weeks ago. The date was set long before I knew about Ashley's car. That is absolutely not true. I finally managed. I set this date weeks ago. The invitations were mailed 2 weeks ago. Ashley knew the date perfectly well. She showed us the text message you sent her yesterday. My father countered, changing the time from 6 p.m. to 3 p.m., knowing she had her appointment at the dealership at 3 p.m. Why would you do that, Shirley? Are you that jealous of your sister that you needed to ruin her special day? My mind raced. I had texted Ashley yesterday, but only to confirm, not to change any times. The invitation always said 3 p.m. Dad, that is not what happened. I never changed the time. Check your own invitation. It always said 3 p.m. We don't have the invitation anymore, he dismissed. And that's beside the point. The point is that your sister needed her family support today for her first major achievement. And you tried to force us to choose between you two. The words stung like a slap. First major achievement? What about my college graduation? My promotions? This house I'd saved for 10 years to buy? None of those counted. My invitation said 3 p.m. from the beginning. I said again, fighting for steady breath. And even if there was confusion, why did none of you call me? Why did you all just not show up? Because your mother and I decided we needed to support Ashley. She was in tears thinking about how you were trying to overshadow her again. Again. My entire life had been spent in her shadow. Dad, I bought a house with my own money. After working for 10 years and saving everything I could, I wanted to share that with my family. How is that overshadowing Ashley buying a car? It's not about the house or the car, Shirley. It's about your attitude. You've always been competitive with your sister, always trying to one-up her. The injustice of his statement took my breath away. Every memory flooded back. Standing quietly while Ashley received praise for minimal effort, swallowing disappointment when my achievements were overlooked, biting my tongue during comparisons. All of it. I need you to apologize to your sister, my father continued. She's very hurt by what you did. Something broke inside me then. A lifetime of accommodation, of accepting scraps, of being the responsible one. I will not apologize for something I did not do, I said, my voice firm. Ashley lied to you. I never changed the time of my party. And the fact that none of you bothered to check with me, that you all just assumed I was in the wrong without question, says everything about our family dynamic. Don't talk to me about family dynamics, young lady, his voice rose. We raised you better than this. Your mother is in tears over your behavior. My behavior? I'm the one who was left waiting for my family at my housewarming, watching the door while everyone else enjoyed the party. I spent weeks planning. You need to think about someone other than yourself for once, Shirley. The unfairness of that was the final straw. Tears streamed down my face now, but they were tears of anger as much as hurt. I have spent my entire life thinking about everyone else, Dad. I've been the responsible one, the one who never caused problems, the one who worked hard and did everything right. And still, Ashley always comes first. Always. That's not true. And you know it, he said, but there was a slight hesitation. It is true, and deep down you know it too. I choked out. I'm going to hang up now, because this conversation is not productive. When you and Mom are ready to hear my side of things, you can call me back. Shirley, don't you dare hang up on me. I ended the call, my hands shaking. For a long moment, I stood in my living room, surrounded by the home I had created, feeling more alone than I ever had in my life. My phone immediately rang again. My mother. I took a deep breath and answered. Mom, I can't talk right now. Shirley, how could you do this to your sister? Her voice was thick with tears. You know how sensitive she is, and you know how much this car meant to her. Mom, I did not do anything to Ashley. I sent invitations 2 weeks ago for a 3 p.m. party. I never changed the time. She showed us your text, Shirley. Why are you lying? I am not lying, Mom. Ashley lied, and the fact that you immediately believe her over me hurts more than I can say. My mother's voice hardened. You've always been jealous of the attention Ashley gets. You need to grow up and stop these childish games. The conversation went in circles until I hung up, completely drained. Out of curiosity and mounting anger, I scrolled through my texts with Ashley. There was our exchange from yesterday. Hey Ash, just confirming you guys are coming tomorrow at 3. Can't wait to show you the house. Ashley's reply, totally. Unless something comes up, LOL. But should be there. Nothing about changing times. Nothing that could be misinterpreted. Then I noticed something strange. There were screenshots in our conversation from earlier today. Screenshots I had never sent. They showed a doctor conversation where I supposedly told Ashley the party had been moved to 3 p.m. instead of 6 p.m. Ashley had fabricated evidence and sent it to herself from my number. I sat down heavily on my sofa, the full weight of the manipulation hitting me. My sister had deliberately created a situation where my family would miss my housewarming, then made it appear to be my fault. The level of calculation required was staggering. My phone buzzed again. A text from Ashley. Hope her party was fun. Sorry we couldn't make it, but my new car is amazing. Maybe next time don't try to make everything about you. Just saying. The casual cruelty of that message, after what she had done, left me breathless. This wasn't just sibling rivalry or thoughtlessness. This was deliberate sabotage. I turned off my phone, curling up on the sofa, surrounded by this beautiful home that now felt tainted by this painful revelation. The family I hoped would finally see my worth had shown me exactly how little they valued me. And my sister, my own sister, had orchestrated all of it. That night, alone in my dream house, I cried myself to sleep. After a restless night, I woke up with a clarity I'd never experienced. The hurt and shock had crystallized into pure determination. I was not going to let Ashley's lies stand unchallenged. For once in my life, I was going to confront the dynamics that had shaped our family for decades. I drove the 30 minutes to Ashley's apartment, rehearsing what I'd say. This wasn't about revenge. It was about truth, about finally standing up for myself. When she opened the door, her surprise was evident. "Shirley, what are you doing here?" She was still in pajamas, her hair a messy bun. "We need to talk," I said, my voice steady. "May I come in?" She hesitated, then stepped aside. "Is this about yesterday?" she asked defensively, crossing her arms. "Because I already told Mom and Dad what happened." I took out my phone. "Yes, it is about yesterday. And about these." I showed her the fabricated screenshots. Screenshots of a conversation that never happened. Screenshots you fabricated to make it look like I changed the time of my party to conflict with your car appointment. Ashley's expression flickered. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Ashley, stop. The evidence is right here. You created fake messages and sent them to yourself in our conversation thread. What I can't figure out is why. Why would you go to such lengths to make sure our family missed my housewarming?" She looked away, a flush creeping up her neck. "You always have to be the center of attention, don't you? Perfect Shirley, with her perfect career and now her perfect house. Meanwhile, I finally do something worth celebrating, and no one would care because they'd all be too busy applauding you." The bitterness in her voice was startling. "Is that really how you see me?" I asked. "As someone who steals your spotlight?" "Ashley, my entire life, I have stood in the background while you receive praise and attention for every little thing." "That's such a lie!" she exploded. "Mom and Dad always talked about how smart you were, how responsible, how successful. Why can't you be more like your sister?" "Shirley would never do that. Look at Shirley's grades, her job, her savings. Do you have any idea what it's like to grow up hearing that?" I stared at her in disbelief. "Are we from the same family? Because in my experience, it was always, Ashley is so charming. Ashley is so pretty. Ashley makes friends so easily. Every accomplishment I ever had was minimized while you were celebrated for the smallest things." We stood there, two grown women with completely opposite perspectives on our shared childhood. It was like we'd grown up in parallel universes. "You were always the favorite," Ashley insisted, but there was a flicker of uncertainty in her eyes. "Then why did they all choose to go see your new car instead of coming to my housewarming?" I pressed. "If I'm the favorite, explain that to me." She didn't have an answer. Instead, she changed tactics. "It's just a house, Shirley. People buy houses all the time. It's not that big a deal." The dismissal of my greatest achievement stung, but I refused to be derailed. "This is not about the house or the car. This is about you deliberately lying to our family to manipulate them. You created false evidence to make me look bad. That goes beyond sibling rivalry, Ashley. That is calculated and cruel. They would have come to your party eventually," she said, her voice smaller now. "I just wanted them to see my car first, when it still had the big bow on it and everything. They could have done both. But they didn't, because you told them I had intentionally changed the time to hurt you. You made me the villain in this story when all I wanted was to share something important with my family." The sound of a key in the lock interrupted us. Our parents walked in, looking surprised. "Shirley, what are you doing here?" my mother asked, glancing between us. "I came to talk to Ashley about what really happened yesterday," I said, turning to them. "Did you bring the invitation I sent you? I'd like to show you that it always said 3 p.m. My father's expression hardened. "We came to check on your sister because she was upset last night. We don't need to rehash this whole situation." "Actually, we do," I insisted, a newfound courage in my voice. "Because Ashley lied to you. She created fake text messages to make it look like I changed the time of my party. The invitation always said 3 p.m., and she knew that. "Shirley, that is enough," my mother snapped. "Stop trying to blame your sister. Look!" I held out my phone, showing them the doctor conversation. "This is our actual text exchange. Ashley inserted these screenshots herself. They don't even match the format of our other messages." My father barely glanced at the phone. "I don't know what you're trying to prove here, Shirley, but attacking your sister is not the way to handle this." "I am not attacking her. I am showing you the truth." My voice rose in frustration. "Why is it so hard for you to consider that Ashley might be lying? Why do you automatically assume I'm in the wrong?" "Because you've always been jealous of your sister," my mother said, moving to put an arm around Ashley, who had started to cry. "Ever since she was little, you've resented the attention she gets." The injustice of the statement, after everything, broke something vital in me. "That is not true. That has never been true. I have spent my entire life trying to make you proud, working harder than anyone I know to achieve the things I have, and still, nothing I do is ever enough for you to actually see me." "We see you just fine, Shirley," my father said coldly. "We see someone who can't be happy for her sister's accomplishments without making it about herself." "Her accomplishments?" I laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. "Buying a car with money our parents gave her is an accomplishment? But me saving for 10 years to buy a house on my own is not worth showing up for." "It's not about the car or the house," my father repeated, echoing my earlier words to Ashley. "It's about your attitude." "My attitude?" I was nearly shouting now. "My attitude has always been to work hard, never complain, and support this family, even when you all continuously overlook me in favor of Ashley. And I am tired of it. I am tired of being the only one who sees this dynamic for what it is." Ashley was fully crying now, her head buried in our mother's shoulder. The familiar sight of my parents comforting her while I stood alone sent a wave of painful recognition through me. "I think you should leave," my father said, his voice leaving no room for argument. "Your sister is upset enough without you making wild accusations." "They are not wild accusations," I said quietly, my anger giving way to a deep sadness. "They are the truth, and the fact that none of you can even consider that tells me everything I need to know about my place in this family." I walked to the door, my hand on the knob. For the record, the invitation always said 3 p.m. I never changed the time. I wanted all of you there because, despite everything, you are my family, and I thought my first home was something worth celebrating together. I guess I was wrong. As I left, I heard my mother's soothing words to Ashley. "It's okay, sweetheart. Shirley has always had a flair for drama." I drove home in a state of numb disbelief. The confrontation had gone even worse than I'd anticipated. Not only had they refused to believe me, but they had reinforced the very dynamic I was trying to challenge. In their eyes, I would always be the problem, the jealous sister, the one with the attitude. As I pulled into the driveway of my house, my beautiful house that I had worked so hard for, I made a decision. I couldn't change my family, or make them see the truth they were determined to ignore. But I could change how much power I gave them over my happiness. Starting today, I would build a life that didn't revolve around seeking their approval or recognition. Starting today, I would define my own worth. The next 3 months passed without a single word from my family. No calls, no texts, no emails. At first, the silence was agonizing, a constant reminder of their rejection. But gradually, something unexpected happened. I began to breathe more freely, without the weight of their expectations, without the constant striving for recognition that would never come. I found space to rediscover who I was, apart from the family dynamics that had defined me for so long. I threw myself into making my house truly mine. I planted a garden, something I'd always wanted. Every weekend, my hands in the soil, nurturing things, watching them grow. Inside, I continued small projects, creating the home library I dreamed of, refinishing an old desk. But the most significant changes were happening within me. Without the constant background noise of family drama, I began to hear my own voice more clearly. What did I want? What brought me joy? Who was I when I wasn't trying to prove my worth? The friends who had shown up for my housewarming became the family I had chosen. They valued me for exactly who I was, Melissa, and I started a weekly dinner tradition. My colleague invited me to his community garden. My neighbor introduced me to her book club. One rainy Tuesday, I attended my first support group for people with difficult family relationships. I'd been hesitant, unsure if my situation was bad enough, but from the moment I sat in that circle of strangers, I felt a recognition that was both painful and profoundly comforting. "I always thought I was alone in this," a woman named Jessica said. "I thought I was the only one whose family made her feel invisible." Her words struck a chord so deep within me that tears sprang to my eyes. As others shared stories of narcissistic parents, golden child siblings, years of gaslighting, I saw my own experience reflected. It wasn't unique. It had names: scapegoating, favoritism, emotional neglect. Jessica became both friend and mentor. She recommended books, listened without judgment, and showed me, through her own example, that it was possible to build a fulfilling life without the validation I had sought for so long. At her suggestion, I began seeing a therapist, Dr. Natalie Rivera. In our first session, I poured out the story of the housewarming and its aftermath, expecting her to be shocked. Instead, she nodded. "What you're describing is a classic family system with rigid roles," she explained. "Your sister is the golden child, and you've been placed in the role of the scapegoat. These roles often have very little to do with who you actually are as people, and much more to do with your parents' own unresolved issues." Over the following weeks, Dr. Rivera helped me unpack a lifetime of interactions. I saw how I'd internalized the message that I was only valuable for what I achieved, that love was conditional on performance. I realized how much of my life had been spent seeking approval that was strategically withheld. "The hardest thing to accept," she told me, "is that you cannot make people give you what they do not have to give. Your parents, for whatever reason, are not capable of seeing you clearly or loving you unconditionally. That is not a reflection of your worth. It is a limitation in them." Those words were a turning point. I had spent 32 years trying to earn love that should have been freely given. I had contorted myself into the perfect daughter, student, employee, sister, always responsible, never demanding, constantly achieving, hoping it would be enough. But it never had been, and it never would be, because the problem wasn't with me. As this realization settled into my bones, I began to change, subtly but profoundly. I started saying no. I bought clothes in colors I loved. I took a pottery class just for fun. At work, I applied for a creative director position I'd once thought beyond my reach. To my surprise, I got it. "You seem different," my colleague Maria commented. "More present, like you're fully inhabiting your space." I was beginning to recognize my own value outside of my family's narrow definition. And as I did, other people saw it too. 6 weeks into my new life, I received a text from an unknown number. "Hey sis, it's Dylan. Got a new phone. Can we talk? Not about family stuff. Just want to see how you're doing." My younger brother had always been the quiet one, often lost in the dynamic between Ashley and me. We hadn't been particularly close, but there had always been an unspoken understanding. I agreed to meet him for coffee. Dylan looked older than his 24 years, shoulders slightly hunched. When he saw me, his face lit up. "Your hair looks different," he said. "It suits you." I had finally cut my long hair into a shoulder-length bob, something I'd wanted for years but had hesitated over, hearing my mother's voice in my head. It was a small act of reclamation, but it felt significant. We talked about neutral topics at first, but eventually, the conversation turned to what had happened. "I should have come to your housewarming," he said quietly, looking down at his coffee. I knew something was off about the whole situation, but I didn't want to get in the middle of it. "I'm sorry, Shirley. Thank you for saying that," I replied, surprised by how much his acknowledgement meant. Dylan hesitated, then continued. "The thing is, this wasn't the first time Ashley has done something like this. She's been manipulating situations for years, making herself look good at your expense. I've seen her do it so many times, but Mom and Dad never question her, so I just stayed quiet." He looked up, regret clear in his eyes. I should have said something. What followed shook the foundation of how I understood our family history. Dylan revealed incident after incident where Ashley had lied, twisted facts, or created drama to ensure she remained the center of attention. The birthday party where my gift mysteriously disappeared. The deleted email about my college scholarship. The rumor she'd spread that I was too busy for our grandmother's 75th birthday, when I'd never even received the invitation. "I think she feels threatened by you," Dylan said. You're everything she's not. Independent, successful driven. So she has to find ways to make you look bad or keep you away from the family. And our parents just believe her, I said, the familiar hurt rising again. Dylan nodded sadly. They see what they want to see. Ashley plays the role they need her to play, the delicate one who needs their protection. And you've always been the strong one who they think doesn't need anything. We talked for hours that day, peeling back layers of family dynamics. For the first time, I felt truly seen by someone who had been there for all of it. What are you going to do now? Dylan asked. I considered the question. I'm going to keep building my life, my real life, not the one I thought I needed to have to earn their approval. Beyond that, I don't know yet. Dylan hugged me. For what it's worth, I've always admired you, Shirley. You're the strongest person I know. His words stayed with me, bolstering me as I continued my journey of self-discovery and healing. The house that had once felt tainted by my family's rejection now became a symbol of my resilience. 2 months after coffee with Dylan, he called with a proposition that made my heart race. I think it's time for Mom and Dad to hear the truth, he said. All of it. This pattern has gone on too long. I want to help set up a meeting with them. Neutral territory, like a restaurant. My immediate instinct was to refuse. I had found peace in the separation. Did I really want to reopen that wound? What about Ashley? I asked. She'll just manipulate the situation again. Not this time, Dylan said with a determination I'd never heard from him. I have evidence, Shirley. Screenshots of conversations. Emails where she admits what she did. She doesn't know I saved them. And I'm ready to stand up for the truth, even if it means confronting our parents. After a long discussion, I agreed. Not for a Hollywood reconciliation, but to reclaim my narrative. For too long, I had been defined by Ashley's lies and my parents' willingness to believe them. Whatever happened, I wanted to stand in my truth. We met at a quiet restaurant. Dylan arrived at my house beforehand, a folder of printed evidence in hand, his face a mixture of nervousness and resolve. Are you sure you want to do this? I asked him. They might turn on you too. He nodded. I'm sure. I can't keep watching this happen. It's not right, and deep down I think they know it. My parents were already seated, their faces showing a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. Thank you for coming, I said as Dylan and I sat down. Dylan said it was important, my mother replied, her voice carefully neutral. He said there were things we needed to discuss as a family. There are, I confirmed. Things that have been left unsaid for far too long. After the waiter took our orders, Dylan cleared his throat and opened his folder. Mom, Dad, there's something you need to know, he began. About what happened at Shirley's housewarming, but also about a pattern that's been going on for years. My father's face immediately hardened. If this is about blaming your sister again, please just listen, Dylan interrupted, his voice steady. I have proof of what really happened. He laid out the evidence methodically. Screenshots of the original invitation showing the 3 p.m. time, the fabricated text messages Ashley created, and most damning of all, a series of texts between him and Ashley where she had bragged about making sure Shirley knew her place. My parents' expressions shifted from skepticism to confusion, then to the dawning of an uncomfortable realization. This can't be right, my mother said weakly. Ashley wouldn't do this. She did, Dylan said gently. And it's not the first time. He continued, revealing other incidents from our childhood where Ashley had deliberately sabotaged me or turned family members against me. With each example, he provided corroborating evidence, saved emails, text messages, photos with telling timestamps. My father sat in stunned silence, growing paler. My mother began to cry quietly. Why are you showing us this? She finally asked. What do you want from us? We want you to see the truth, I said, finding my voice. For years, I've been cast as the villain in a story I never wrote. I've been made to feel that I wasn't worthy of the same love and attention that Ashley received automatically. All I ever wanted was to be seen for who I really am, not who Ashley told you I was. My father looked up, meeting my eyes directly for perhaps the first time in years. Surely, I don't know what to say. If what Dylan is showing us is true. It is true, I said firmly. And I think deep down you've always known something wasn't right. But it was easier to go along with Ashley's version of reality than to question it. A heavy silence fell over the table. This was the moment of truth. Would they acknowledge what they had seen, or would they dismiss it? I think we need to talk to Ashley, my father finally said, his voice rough with emotion. Would you like me to call her now? Dylan asked. My parents exchanged a long look, then nodded. The 30 minutes we waited for Ashley were among the most tense of my life. When she walked in, her confident smile faltered as she saw our serious faces. What is going on? She asked, sliding into the empty chair. Is this some kind of intervention? We need to talk about the housewarming party, my father said, uncharacteristically hesitant. And some other things. Ashley's eyes darted to the folder, then to Dylan, then to me. Why are we still talking about that? It was months ago. Because we have reason to believe you lied to us about what happened, my father continued, and possibly about many other things over the years. What followed was one of the most difficult conversations of my life. Ashley initially denied everything, then minimized her actions, then tried to paint herself as the victim. But faced with the concrete evidence and Dylan's calm insistence on the truth, her defenses gradually crumbled. Fine, she finally said, tears streaming down her face. I did it. I did all of it. Are you happy now, Shirley? You finally turned everyone against me. This is not about turning anyone against you, I said quietly. This is about the truth finally being acknowledged. You have been manipulating this family for years, Ashley. You have deliberately hurt me over and over again, and I need to understand why. Her answer, when it came, was both simple and heartbreaking. Because it was so easy. Because everyone always believed me over you. Because I was afraid if they saw how amazing you really are, they wouldn't love me anymore. The raw honesty of her admissions stunned us all into silence. Ashley, my mother said finally, her voice breaking. We would never stop loving you. Never. But what you did was wrong. So wrong. My father reached across the table and took my hand, his eyes filled with regret. Shirley, I don't know if you can ever forgive us. We should have seen what was happening. We should have questioned things instead of always assuming the worst of you. I didn't respond immediately, letting the weight of his words settle. This was not a moment for easy forgiveness or quick reconciliation. This was the beginning of a much longer, more difficult conversation about trust, truth, and family. I don't know what happens next, I admitted. I've spent the last few months building a life that doesn't revolve around seeking your approval or understanding. I've found strength in that independence. But I would be open to seeing if we can build something new, something based on honesty and mutual respect. In the weeks that followed that pivotal meeting, my relationship with my family began a slow, careful reconstruction. My parents visited my house for the first time, expressing genuine admiration. Dylan and I grew closer, our shared experience forging a bond that had never existed. Ashley was a more complicated story. She entered therapy, beginning the difficult work of examining her own insecurities. Our relationship remained distant, the trust too thoroughly broken to be quickly repaired. But there was an honesty between us now that had never existed before. 3 months later, I hosted another housewarming party, a symbolic reset. This time, my parents and Dylan arrived early, helping with final preparations. Friends who had supported me through the darkest moments mingled with family members cautiously finding their way back into my life. As I looked around my living room that evening, seeing the blend of chosen and birth family, sharing food and conversation, I felt a sense of completion that had nothing to do with external validation. My home had become what I had always wanted it to be, a sanctuary of truth and authenticity, a place where I could be fully myself. The journey had been painful, but the lessons it taught me were invaluable. I learned that sometimes standing in your truth means standing alone. I learned that family isn't just about blood, but about who sees you clearly and loves you anyway. Most importantly, I learned that my value does not depend on anyone else's recognition of it. Today, 2 years after that fateful housewarming party, my house has truly become a home. The garden I planted has flourished, much like my sense of self. My career has thrived, now that I no longer seek approval with every decision. And my relationships, both family and friends, are built on a foundation of mutual respect and genuine connection. Sometimes, the greatest gift we can give ourselves is the courage to stand in our truth, even when those we love most refuse to see it. Sometimes the family we need most is the one we build for ourselves, person by person, truth by truth, day by day. Have you ever had to stand up for your truth when everyone around you refused to see it? How did you find the strength to remain true to yourself in the face of family pressure or manipulation? Share your story in the comments below. And if this resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share with someone who might need to hear that they are not alone in their family struggles. Thank you for listening to my journey. And remember, your worth is not determined by other people's ability to recognize it.